Work with men has also included working with LGBTI groups, because we feel that the work with men has exposed us to how issues of oppression and issues of privilege need to be looked at the same time. In our work with women's health, we are also looking at Dalit groups, because we have realized that most of the women who face the worst health indicators and whose access to health is among the poorest belong to the Dalit groups, or groups which are socially marginalized in India. So we actually have a project in which we are working collaboratively with the National Center for Dalit Human Rights, and we have a joint project looking at developing Dalit leadership for improving accountability in public health services. So all along our work, we are trying to look at intersections between different rights movements. So that's the way we look at how health or work with men does not stand as a single item work.
Would you say you are part of the women's movement?
I would certainly like to believe that I'm part of the women's movement, and I would feel that many of the women's activists in India would agree to that.
You see difference between working with young men and older men?
Certainly. Working with young men and older men is vastly different. For starters, I think with young men, it is easier to achieve a situation where we can come to a set of agreements based on ideology of equality. Whereas with older men, their ideologies are much more well defined. So some of their ideologies are ideologies which the distinctions are sharper. So when I say ideologies of distinction, in India we have ideologies of distinction around caste, we have strong ideologies of distinction around religious equality, and we have of course ideologies of distinctions around gender. But for younger people, we have found it to be much more easier to look at engage in discussions around ideologies of equality. But at the same time, I must say that in India, despite the fact that there are so many different ideologies, even among older people, we have found that you can engage with what we would call heterodox ideologies. And even within religion, we have spaces where the non-dominant form of religion is sort of what I would call the principles of bhakti, where you have living saints in the Hindu tradition and in the Muslim tradition, where there is conversation about oneness with the God rather than a sort of much more distinct and much more patriarchal form of religion. So with older men, we have found that kind of conversation is possible with some men. The other thing that we feel is that when we talk of equality, we found that you can't talk to all men and get attraction, but you can certainly get attraction with a large proportion of men.
What are the challenges and tensions between women's movements and other social movements as you are part of?
Tensions between women's movement and other movements. One very key tension that is coming in right now is around the issue of abortion, especially sex-selective abortion or female feticide. Over the last 10 years has been more, but 15-20 years we've been finding a phenomenon in India which is called declining sex ratio. And it is becoming more and more acute. The last census which took place last year showed that 28 among our 35 states there has been a decline in the number of girls for boys. And what this has led to is a situation where there's been a strong tension on abortion. India has an abortion law for the last 30 years, nearly 40 years. And that law came about without much struggle. But today, what is happening is, in the name of declining sex ratio, there has been a scrutiny on abortions. And this is where the tension between the women's autonomy about her body and her autonomy to decide whether she wants to carry her pregnancy or not is coming into sharp contrast with other societal aspirations for gender equality. So this is one tension that we see. A lot of women actually are calling for sort of criminalizing abortion, whereas what we are trying to say, the act of sex detection is a problem. So if you detect a male child and keep that child, that is also illegal according to Indian law, as is detecting a female sort of fetus and then moving to abortion. But if you only focus on abortion, each act where you detect and keep is getting ignored. So there are areas where we have tension. Similarly, child rights groups are coming in and here saying that it is the right of the girl child, whereas there is no girl child. We are talking of fetus. So this particular area of declining sex ratio is becoming a confusing area of rights in India.
What would you like to see happen to address these tensions and challenges?
First of all, I think, I don't think it's a problem that there is tension, especially tension at the ideological level. Because if everybody talks the same language, we are not challenging each other even to think smarter, think in a more nuanced fashion. So one of the things that we have sort of come to a decision right now is that how can we build friendships across different movements and put on the table places where we may have confusions. Instead of saying disagreements, can you explain it better? And if we can explain it better, like let's look at another area of confusion that we recently came across in the area of child rights and what is the age of consent. If we say that marriage happens in India legally at the age of 18, can we have sex at the age of 16? Or is all age at the age of 16 a rape? There was some discussion around this, and some of the child rights groups were defining any sex with children to be rape. Now, for us, we felt that we come from sexual reproductive rights and we know that children do have sexual, exploratory feelings. Now, the point is, if two children engage in sexual exploration at 16, does that make it rape? So, we feel that these discussions need to take place between different rights groups, and these are two areas that we have decided that we will have discussions in the near future.
Do you know of examples where movements have worked well together? What can we learn from those examples?
Well, I have lots of examples. I've tried continuously to have movements to work together. Now, the interesting thing for movements to work together, the approach that we take, is also to not have only, ideological affinities, but also friendships. Because at the end of the day, ideologically we can continue to analyze, sub-analyze and find ways in which we have disagreements. But if we have friendships, we will have a way in which we can address our disagreements and continue our disagreements without breaking our friendships. So one of the things that personally I have continuously found useful is that if I can develop a friendship with a person in another movement, then our friendship will survive disagreements and we can have collaborative action based on our agreements, while we can say we will disagree and we will try to find a solution to our disagreement separately. And our disagreement will not define our relationship.